Okay, so now I'm gonna be reviewing Army of Darkness, which came out in, I think, 1990. This is 92, but the anniversary for it, because I watched this on the anniversary, which was unexpected, it was on February 19th, the movie came out in 1993, but on the box this is 1992, so I'll just go with 92. So maybe it was released somewhere else in 93, I don't know. So this one is basically it's Evil Dead 3. So if you've never seen the Evil Dead franchise and you just saw this one, you probably want to get what it was about because it's just called Army of Darkness and not Evil Dead 3. You know what I mean? So, or it's not called like Evil Dead Army of Darkness. But yeah, this is the third movie in the Evil Dead franchise. And I think this one is the most popular one. And this is where you get the more one-liners from. Which I forgot to mention in my Evil Dead 2 review, that one of the big lines from that one is the groovy line, which they carry on into this movie. So the plot of this one is it's a continuation from Evil Dead 2. At the end of Evil Dead 2, Ash is blown into the next dimension, which is the 1300s AD. And at the end of it, he kills a demon that's gonna kill the 1300 ADP. I don't know what they are. I don't know if they're crusaders or what. But in this one, they capture him and they're gonna execute him because they think that he's a warlock or something. So basically, he has to prove that they're going to kill him. They push him down into this pit. He fights off this Deadeye in the pit, and then he becomes the king, not king, but like royalty in this area. And basically, it's just showing him. It's basically about him, fighting off the army of darkness, which in the movie he has to go to a cemetery to get the Necronomicon, and he has to bring it back to this warlock in order so he can go back to his time, and so they can, trap the evil entities in it. But something happens where Ash accidentally releases the Army of Darkness, and then they have to end up fighting it. And that's basically the plot of the movie. I don't like this one either. It's mainly because it's a straight up comedy. And I don't mind comedies. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, I'm not a fan of slapstick comedy. And that's mainly what this is. And, in this franchise, like, progressively became comedic. Like, the first movie was, like, straight up, like, a horror movie, and then there's some unintentionally funny moments in the original, but it was, like, a straight up horror movie. Then, in, Evil Dead 2, it got more comedic, but it had some horror elements in it. And this one is like a straight up like fantasy, horror, and comedy, but mainly a comedy. Which I don't mind the fantasy aspect, because I thought that was pretty cool. So, this is also where you see Ash in his full form, like the stuck up douchebag with he does have a heart of gold and like a smart ass mouth, and that's where we get like a bunch of the one-liners. Like all the one-liners like I can name is from this movie. Besides, Groovy, they use Groovy in this one too, but that appeared in Evil Dead 2. But this like there's like here's my boomstick. This is my boomstick. Uh, you're talking. What you're talking is Jack and shit, and Jack left town. There's Hail to the King, baby. And then there's one line that goes, honey, you got real ugly real fast. And then there's also my favorite, she bits. Hey, she bits. She bitch, let's dance. And what else? There's just a bunch. Like if you look it up, like look up quotes from this it from Evil Dead franchise. I guarantee it will come from this movie. I think I said most of the big ones that are in this. Oh, Primitive Screwheads. He says that a lot too. And there's an edition called Primitive Screwheads, and there's also an edition of DVDs and Blu-rays. I mean, called Boom. There's one called Boomstick Edition and Primitive Screwhead Edition, which I don't have and I don't know the difference of. But this is just like a standard edition, like nothing special on it. One thing I do like about this movie is the setting. Like, it looks like it was set back in the 1300s. Like, it's mainly desert and sometimes, like a foresty area. Like, when Ash has to go to the cemetery to get the Necronomicon, there's, like, it looks like an old, like, creepy cemetery from, like, a Universal Monsters movie. I also like the castle. Like, the castle looks really cool, and like the clothing, like the attire that everyone wears, looks like accurate to like the 1300s. You know, besides what Ash wears because he's from the 20th century, the early 90s. So his clothes looks more modern. But yeah, I also like. I mean, like, the concept of like skeleton army is kind of stupid in this, but because you could kill him easily. But I like that it's stop motion, kind of like Ray Harryhausen. If you don't know, was a makeup. Well, he did practical effects for a bunch of like science fiction and fantasy movies back in the 50s and 40s and 50s and like that. Like he in 60s, I would say, like Clash of the Titans or stuff like that. And that's what the skeletons remind me of, like in the movies. It's like very like Ray Harryhausen, which I really liked and enjoyed that. I also like the look of like the leader of the Army of Darkness. Like he just looks so fucked up and creepy, kind of creepy looking. Like his jaw keeps falling off because I guess it's like a decaying body, but it's like held up by ropes. And like there's one scene he has to keep like pushing his jaw up because it keeps dislocating. But yeah, I like that. I also like the scene where Ash goes into the cemetery and there's he has to get a Necronomicon, but there's three of them, so he has to open like all three to see what they are, which one's the real one, and one like tries to suck him into another dimension, and there's like a comedic scene. It's not funny to me where like his mouth like elongates and then he has to push it back up and he's like doing it so his face is like corrected. Then there's also one of them bites his hand and he has to fight it with it, and then he finds the real one. And he has to utter these words, which I don't even remember. I know it's Clothtu, Naratu, something like that. He has he has to say that, and he says it wrong, at least the last word, because he don't remember the words. And the warlock was trying to get him to say it, but repeat it so you can learn it. And he was being asked, was like, yeah, I remember it, this and that. So like, there's this joke throughout the movie because he says it wrong when he goes, and this releases the Army of Darkness. But when he goes back to the castle, the warlock said, "Did you say it right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I said it kind of right. I didn't say all the syllables, but yeah, but I did say it." And then like it plays on later on in the movie when he goes back to his dimension. I like that. I like the she-bitch demon that Ash has to fight. And like the camera, like in the action scenes in this, like the camera was like very frenetic and like very fast and shaky. It's kind of like it was like making a kung fu movie, because there's like the scene where like, well, besides the Deadite, he has to fight in in the pit. That was pretty cool. Kind of reminded me a little bit of like Star Wars, but that was pretty cool. And then there, the she bitch fight where it was like very fast and stuff, and like it was just cool. And that she bitch Deadite looks really good. She looks like the Deadites in this look way better than in the original, but they don't look bad in Evil Dead 2. Yeah. Also, like, that in this one, he gets a mechanical hand instead of the chainsaw hand. And that was pretty cool. And he also has his car in this, which I think I think it's a Delta. It appears in all of the movies. It's the same car. But in this one, he has, like, equipment in it. Because I never thought Ash was that smart of a guy, but he has, like, scientific shit in it, like chemicals and chemistry books and stuff. So that's what he makes, like, a bunch of stuff to help, like, explosives and stuff to help fight off the Deadites when the Army of Darkness comes. Which that scene was good. The whole battle with the Army of Darkness, that was a fun battle and stuff. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, and then there's when he goes back to his other dimension, there's this scene where he's in the store talking to a bunch of his coworkers. He works at a grocery store called, or not grocery store, but a store called S Mart. It goes shop S Smart, and this he's telling them like how like the story when he was in 1300s, and of course no one believes him. So like, but this Deadite comes out. I think it's the she bitch Deadite, and he has to go fight it. And there's this very like weird, kind of funny scene at the end where he's like shooting at her and fighting with her, and that's how the movie ends. So yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite of the bunch, but I can see why people like it, and especially in like Evil Dead 2, because they're not serious and more fun and laid back. And at least with Army of Darkness, it was a little bit more creative. Like they went to another world and didn't keep it in the same like century like Evil Dead 2. But anyways, that's my review.